honest, he's a man of taste. He's got a thing for a certain type of grace. He don't care about diamonds or pearls. All he wants is a girl with comfortable shoes. He loves women in comfortable shoes.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John never wants to follow. Get ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
And not only does John Combest love women in comfortable shoes, he wished the women of the world, especially the nurses of the world, would go back to the old nurses' comfy shoes instead of the running shoes and the track shoes and the workout shoes they use now. Right, John?
What were the old nurses' shoes?
You don't remember the old nurses' shoes?
Brad, I was born when you were already developing gray hair. So, no, I have no idea what nurses' shoes are.
Nurses' shoes used to be made out of leather, and they were very, shall we say, unflashy. They were like, they were ties
Gross.
kind of thing, and some of them have like a serrated, like sole, so when you walked, they didn't make any noise at all because they didn't want to wake up the patients while they were walking down the hall at 3 o'clock in the morning to wake up the patients to give them their sleeping pill. You know what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, but that's surprising to me. So if a nurse wears disgusting, uncomfortable flats, how is she supposed to seduce a surgeon or a doctor? Like, why else do women get in the nursing profession?
Hold on a minute, John. Hold on a minute. You hear that? Did you hear that by any chance?
I do, and I'm going to ask you in our top 3 today, at least in story number 3, to hold off on the Little Debbie, because you know personally 2 of the subjects in story number 3, and I want your opinion on the brouhaha between them.
So I can't chomp down, and can I chomp down to number 2? Is that okay, number 2?
Yeah, number 2, yeah, and I want you to get real close to your microphone, and I want you to crinkle the wrapper so that people text me and say, why is Oink Face eating when you're talking, and is he really fat? And I have to say, no, he's lanky and gangly, and he's a gimp, but he's not fat, because he goes to fastfoodmediet.com, and he's avoided getting fat by simply eating fast food.
And John, in my top 3 today, I will not tell you which one it is, but after I've gathered all the facts yesterday, I'm going to give you the complete rundown on Brad getting pulled over by the Florissant police on Sunday by the officer's own admission. It started out as a felony traffic stop. Here we go.
Wow, Brad. Okay, good. So that's going to be in B Block. So everybody stick around and hear B Block. And in the interim, they can go to perfecttrafficstop.com and check out what you have to sell there.
Right. And there's 2 interesting components of this, of which are sort of interesting because 2 things, first off, my license plates, and something else we've talked about in the past, they came together in one perfect unison. It all happened in Florissant on Sunday.
Wow. So you're saying that in Florissant, you had your first simultaneous climax in decades.
No. Okay. That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. The reason I spell his name is you have to put that into your browser, be it on your smartphone, your tablet, your desktop, whatever you use to access the internet. Even those tin cans and strings, there's still a little keyboard on there. And johncombest.com is his website, JOHNCOMBEST.com. And he puts dozens of stories up every morning, things that you should know about going on in the state of Missouri. The problem is, if you're ADD like me, you never get past the first 5 or 6. I mean, that's on a good day. I usually can't get past the first 3. But what John does is John culls. Is that would be a good one? Culls?
Oh, yes, very NPR of you.
He curates and he culls. He double C's the, as opposed to double D's. He double, see, I'm doing John Combest now.
Brad, terrible. Get your mind out of the cups.
He double C's all these stories. And we bring in this guy right here. We dig him out of this grave in Norway. Why is he in Norway? Nobody knows except his wife.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And we start with...
In 3rd place.
As teased moments ago, you know 2 of these subjects, and I think they're familiar names to our listeners in the Westplex. And I want your opinion on this, Brad, because there seems to be a little bit of a personal issue between these guys. A headline from Mid-Rivers News Magazine. You can, of course, find it at midriversnewsmagazine.com. And this is a convergence of one of your favorite topics, which is parkland. But it seems to go a lot deeper and get personal here. Wentzville approves large parkland purchase. This happened last week, in what you would think would just be a typical Wentzville Board of Aldermen meeting. The property purchased by Wentzville is 191 acres, multiple parcels of land. And Brad, can you explain to me where this is? Where is Kmeyer Road?
Doesn't ring a bell. Is it off of Meyer Road? There's one of the big, it used to be a little tiny street. I think it's got to be much bigger. But I guess that would be on the northern part of Wentzville Parkway, not too far from the water tower. There's Meyer Road, but it's K, is like initial K?
Yeah, it's Kammereier. Well, we don't have to get bogged down in that. I thought maybe it was a major thoroughfare.
I don't know
that
it.
I was unfamiliar with.
I don't know it.
So the property contains multiple parcels of land and amounts to $7.6 million. And this led to a heated discussion. This piece is brought to us by Jessica Marie Baumgartner. She describes it as a heated discussion before the passage of the purchase. Nick Guccione, mayor of Wentzville, is not happy about this. And he spoke out. Brad, he's not citing your oft-used argument, which is that nobody needs parks anymore. If you were to think of one recent topic about a Westplex municipality and the sale of land, what do you think maybe Mr. Guccione was raising red flags about?
Wasn't it St. Charles is selling part of their parks property? Wasn't that the deal?
That's a good guess, Brad, but I'll go ahead and I'll fill in the blank because this would be a hard one to guess. A conflict of interest. It turns out that Alderman Robert Hussey, a gentleman who you know his family, I believe, he's involved as the broker for the sale of the parkland.
Interesting.
Mayor Nick, yeah, I didn't know that Mr. Hussey was involved in real estate sales, but apparently he's a broker.
Oh, yeah.
And Mayor Nick Guccione read a statement before the vote and said he had serious concerns regarding transparency and ethics. He says, I want to be clear. No elected official should personally or financially benefit from doing business with the same city in which they hold office, especially when they possess the inside knowledge of city operations, future land acquisition plans, and uncertainty surrounding municipal property purchases. So Mr. Gucci went on. I won't read his entire statement. Again, you can find it at midriversnewsmagazine.com. Guccione questioned the topography of the land, a lack of funding for existing parkland, and the commission that Mr. Hussey would be getting. Now, it's important to note here, as Ms. Baumgartner does, that Rob Hussey recused himself from the vote. He did not vote on it. And he says, of course, he's got something to say about it. He says that it appears as though certain elected officials, I'm guessing he's talking Nick Guccione, certain elected officials are attempting to use this matter for political purposes. While disagreement is part of public service, mischaracterizing a lawful and beneficial transaction to the city residents undermines public trust. And the facts are clear. The city is acquiring valuable parkland at a price substantially below appraised values. And Mr. Hussey says that he's actually saving the city millions of dollars because it was appraised, the land was appraised at approximately $12.2 million, but the city is only paying $7.6 million. What a deal Mr. Hussey got for the city. So, Brad, I know how you feel about parkland, and I think our listeners know how you feel. In fact, yesterday, Brad, I have to say, on a day off for school, I happened to have offspring at a park, and me and said offspring were discussing Brad Hildebrand's disdain for its county governments and city governments spending money on parks. We had a nice public policy discussion about that with my kids, Brad.
Okay, first
Brad,
off,
go ahead, Brad.
I was going to say, if their sale price is $7.2 million, I'm doing quick math. That would mean
$7.6 million.
$7.6 million. That would mean at 1% commission, that would be Mr. Hussey would get $76,000. At 2% commission, that would be $152,000. At 3% commission, that would be what, $228,000, something like that?
Not a bad payday, right? That's probably a little bit more he gets more than he gets for being an alderman, don't you think?
First off, full disclosure, you mentioned it before. The Hussey family grew up right across the street from me. Was Phil Hussey was the father who died many years ago. Very sad. He died at like 45 of a heart attack. And interesting, him and I had matter of fact, some morning, if you want to hear a funny story, I will tell you one Saturday morning when Phil Hussey showed up at my doorstep, literally walked across the street, knocked on my door, and explained, and he had a three-piece suit on all the time, had a briefcase, and my mom always said, the definition of an expert is someone from out of town with a briefcase, but he was right across the street. I will tell you the most unbelievable story, and since Mr. Hussey is no longer with us, he can't be embarrassed or anything like that.
Your facts.
Well, no, and to the point where if you want to have my witness, my wife at the time witnessed it because, and it's sort of a funny story, I came down the steps and I opened the door, and the door opened toward the living room, and she came from the living room, so she ended up behind the door, and she stood behind the door and listened to the conversation, so she's my witness on this. But, good family. Rob was a good guy. He's been a real estate guy for a long time. I think maybe 20 plus years or something like that.
Nice. And a fun fact, I believe if it's the same gentleman, he went to Hazelwood East for a year. So I knew Rob for a year, his freshman year of high school, and then they moved. And I don't want to get us too bogged down here, Brad. Do you have an opinion on this story?
John, it's my regular opinion. We don't, all these munis. See, it's interesting. My new networking group I'm in is meets up at Pizza Ranch. We were meeting at Friendship Brewing, but they closed.
Oh, yeah, you could play some arcade games or something, right? Get your Mario Kart fix in.
When I drive, I go up 4061, get off at Wentzville Parkway on that end, and drive down and go right in front of the Wentzville Recreation Center. All these munis, everybody's got to have their own recreational center. Everybody's got to have their own swimming pool. Everybody's got to have their own this. Everybody's got to have their own park systems.
Sorry to interrupt, Brad. We know at 714, we know how you feel about parks and recreation centers and libraries. Do you have an opinion on the Guccione versus Hussey thing? Or do you just generally think that it's a personality?
No, I think Nick's right. I don't think that the guy who's representing the sellers should be an alderman and have, skin in the game. He didn't vote on it, but still, he should essentially recuse, he should resign from the board. How's that? I'll just say that right up front. And not only that, here's the other problem with this. Right now, think about this, John. This is my problem. That ground is owned probably in a trust or something like that, and it's generating tax revenue to the county, to
yes, you're right, Brad. Somebody's paying taxes on that land.
To the state and stuff like that. 199 acres. I got a feeling that's probably a five-figure tax bill every year, maybe even 6. I don't know.
Well, what if they promised to put in something like pickleball? Would that change your mind?
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, are you sure? What if we got some of your friends from Harpo's to go lobby about the need for more pickleball facilities?
No, it wouldn't. And it wouldn't do it. It wouldn't do it at all. We ready for number 2?
Yeah, give it to us, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
I mean, really, 2 of our top 3 stories today are pet issues for you. One of them is Parkland. The second one is a few guardrails around AI, artificial intelligence. Senator Joe Nicola from over in the western part of the state, Grain Valley to be exact, he's got a bill that you've probably heard of before because there's a version of it in the Missouri House. The Missouri Senate bill would put a few guidelines on what you can do with AI. Brad, it's probably going to be necessary that we put into Missouri law that no one can marry an AI character. No one can name an AI character as being the CEO of a company. And perhaps most useful to our lives this fall, no one can use an AI generated image or video to mislead voters before an election. Now, the entire version of the bill is linked in this story brought to us by MissouriNet. Matthew Pilger from MissouriNet brought us the story. And he says, here's a money quote from Nicola, and I'm going to be careful with what I say. I won't talk about the part where he talks about using images for prurient purposes. I don't want YouTube to take this and give us a strike or something. But he does talk about about using AI for political purposes and says, whether the Attorney General would be involved in this, the Missouri Ethics Commission as well, that would be involved to send a complaint and be investigated. In other words, a political ad using AI that doesn't say, hey, this is an AI endorsement. These are fake people pretending to support a candidate or pretending to not support a candidate. So Nicola says, enforcement is always an issue with just about anything, but we've got to start and we've got to begin this process. And that's been a familiar mantra of folks who've introduced AI legislation. They say it's not going to be perfect, but we need to talk about it in committee and we need to get the ball rolling because somebody's got to do something about these AI images.
You want my opinion on this?
Yeah, you're going to quote Shakespeare for the second time this week and say it's much ado about nothing.
I just say they should just leave it alone because what's going to happen is the feds are going to come in and put some rules in, and then the states are going to be, it's going to be not make any difference on the state level because the feds are going to.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? States have never come out and said, to heck with the federal government, we're going to make our own laws here in Missouri.
You said it exactly right. This is much ado about nothing. I mean, and the interesting part of this is that these are people that have probably never used AI. It's just like when I told you the comments that were being made on Facebook.
The data centers, people say the only thing people use AI for is
right. Or the lady who I challenged and I said, hey, while you're here on Facebook, these comments are going through data centers. And she says, no, they're not. They're going through my phone on Wi-Fi.
She knows better. And the beautiful thing about it is it's the beginning of a romance.
Yes.
Because you can meet her at the new pickleball courts in Wentzville in 2027. Rob Hussey will pick up the tab and you guys could talk about data centers. And the chick from Mercy, Bethany Pope, will come over and she might have a drink with you guys too.
Do you know what I'm tempted to do? I'm tempted to get my name in every newspaper in over the next couple months because all I'm going to do is I'm going to show up at all the city council meetings, and I'm just the public. They always be like county council.
Yeah, the public comment period. What are you going to say, Brad?
And I'm just going to step up to the lectern. I'm going to say, hi, I'm Brad Hildebrand. My company, Bradco, is proposing 62 data centers in St. Charles County. And then when everybody melts down, oh my God, 62 data centers! And it'll be the top story on the Post-Dispatch. And
talk about free publicity. And if they doubt that you can do it, say you were friends with Mr. Bluestone, and you're going to have your data center connected to every car wash.
Yes, which in St. Charles County would be one in every corner. Okay, we ready for number one?
Please give it to us, Brad.
The number one.
When we talk about legislation, sometimes it's super boring or sometimes it seems not practical. Thank goodness we have a story coming from probably my favorite elected official that's actually practical and something we've talked about on the show. And nobody has proposed legislation about it until now. That lawmaker, Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and her proposal. Hey, potheads, stop smoking your weed in public. Take it home. Take it to a private place. Stop lighting up on sidewalks, public roads, driving down the street. Here's what MEC has to say. I don't know about you, but I can hardly drive down any public road since the legalization of marijuana, and you smell it everywhere. And there is a real public health risk to our children to be exposed to that smoke. Coleman told MissouriNet, I should point out this is brought to us by MissouriNet. You can find a link on my website today, that the bill mirrors similar statutes that prohibit where the use of intoxicating substances can be used that may be legal. MEC continues, and so it's going to include things like public sidewalks, public parks, the roadways. So really, this is pretty common sense. And I think most people probably already think it's illegal and it's just not being enforced. But this would give our law enforcement the tool that they need to be able to make sure that kids aren't exposed to these things. Finally, some practical legislation from Jeff City that affects us every day. I know that you and I have probably beaten this to death, but it's hard to get out of your car at a public parking lot or Six Flags or a concert. Well, you give concerts a little leeway because there's a lot of potheads that go there. Or any shopping facility. You get out of your car and potheads are hotboxing. They're doing their stinky, disgusting marijuana in the parking lot. It's appalling. And I'm so glad that MEC is doing something about it.
I don't even know where to start from all of the things that have been said that are just wrong.
Brad, I also have a clip that I didn't have time to send you this morning that I will send you from MEC on Scott's show in a different episode where she says, that's the understatement of the week. So I'm going to send that to you.
John.
Yeah, Brad, what do you think about this?
Here's the problem with this, okay? Ask any law enforcement officer, and they'll just roll their eyes because nobody's going to do this. You know, they can pass all the legislation they want, but there's no cop that's going to walk up to some dude and his wife and their kids, you know, who are standing watching a parade or something like that and say, "Sir, you're under arrest. You're smoking an intoxicant in public." It's never going to happen. I mean,
I disagree, Brad. I imagine there are, and you have many well-prepared rants about cops. There's certainly some cops who would love to go up to a stinky long hair and say, "Hey, you know, it's against the law to smoke on the sidewalk. You got to put that away or I'm going to have to write you a ticket."
But I don't think, you know, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think if you got a room full of 100 cops and said, okay, here's this new law that Mary Elizabeth Coleman's proposing, how many of you are going to enforce that law? Maybe one or two, you know, Boy Scout cops will say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. The rest of them are just going to roll their eyes and go, yeah, right. Because here's what's going to happen. It's going to end up in court. And somebody's going to say, okay, do you know for a fact that was marijuana in that cigarette? It could have been a hand-rolled one with regular tobacco.
It could have been oregano.
In it. Yeah, it could have been oregano. It could have been cauliflower. And did you test the marijuana? Is there a way that you can? Is there a device like the blood alcohol thing where you could stick it in their mouth and see what intoxicant level they have?
I think you could poke holes at any sort of legislation. I think it's great that MEC is doing this. I don't know how a legislator votes against this. I mean, a Brad Hildebrand type might. Brad, I'm surprised that you would oppose this, considering it opens up an opportunity in 2027 for the perfect smokinginpublic.com.
See, John, here's the problem. It's just like I make fun of Adam Schnelting all the time. I would say 60 to 70% of legislation that gets sent through municipalities and the state and things like that, even the feds, it's some politician who gets butthurt because of the fact, like an Adam Schnelting. He's trying to get to Jefferson City, and he's doing 110, and there's a guy in the left lane who's doing 95, and he wants the guy to pull over. He's flashing his lights at him, so he passes a bill. Okay, it's self-serving, and it's never going to do anything because in that case, there already is a law that states, you know, in matter of fact, there's signs on the interstate that says, keep right except for passing. So if you stay in that left lane, you're already violating the law. And here he's trying to make another law on it. And here
I think you're mad at Adam Schnelting because he had a senior tour this fall with Lieutenant Governor David Wassinger. You can find out more about that on my website today. Yeah. And Adam did not invite you to be, as your title as the oldest man in the Westplex who's still upright. He didn't invite you to be an expert on his tour, Brad. And you thought maybe you could get a per diem. You thought maybe you could bend his ear about advertising on the stations. And Adam did not accept your offer to have the oldest Missourian in the Westplex come along with him.
John, in search of true honesty here, you should paraphrase that or put the word mostly upright because, you know, I'm sort of hunched over.
That's true. But that seems to be between you and your urologist.
But I just think this is dumb. MEC, I'm sorry, it's dumb. It's never going to happen. Now, let me tell you the guy who's for this.
What's never going to happen? The bill's never going to pass or no one will enforce it. There's a difference. You need to be more specific when you say it's never going to happen.
Nobody's going to enforce it. Now, here's the thing. If they do enforce it, Mike Carter's going to have a field day with this. I can hear right now in Z1077, a rap guy comes up, boom, 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 boom.
Oh, yeah.
Were you at
Smoking weed in public, I got your back. Right. Smoking weed in public, it's not crack.
Right. Were you at the Mardi Gras and that cop and the po-po pulled you over for smoking in public? Don't blow. Don't do anything. Call Mike Carter. We'll get you off on that ticket. Boom, boom, psh, boom, boom.
Do not blow. He says it's just oregano.
Right.
Mike, text us. Brad will put together an AI jingle in 10 minutes, and you can play it right between Pro Body Works and the guy that says this. Conventional USDA arm. Oh, my. Come to our bank. We'll give you money.
John, will you link this segment to Mike Carter when we put it up today? Will you put him on there? And tomorrow,
I will at Mike Carter. I will proverbially at him and say, Mike, we got you on this, brother.
And tomorrow I will have the new Mike Carter arrested in public smoking dope jingle. Are you ready?
And then you can play a clip of MEC saying, I don't even know where to start with all the things that are wrong that have just been said here.
John, I would never do that, because before I would do that, I would do.
Apparently it was a popular decision.
That's what MEC would say. But then again, when she looked at the law and she after she stopped smoking her marijuana cigarette, she would say,
I don't even know where to start from all of the things that have been said that are just wrong.
I'm kidding. I don't think MEC does that. Do you think she smokes dope?
Absolutely. Don't ever besmirch my MEC with that talk.
Okay, we have to take a break.